All right, everyone. So we're going to start breaking down the game plan for the week ahead. And as always, I like to start by taking a look at the previous week because it kind of gives context and helps us get oriented with the state of the current market and kind of where I'm at with my trading. So if we look back and recap, on Monday, I had my biggest red day in a couple of months. It was a nearly $10,000 red day, and it was totally avoidable. So it was not a successful red day. It was a day where I traded past my max loss. I didn't follow the rules of my strategy. I lacked discipline and I gave in to emotion. Plain and simple, I gave in to emotion. This is the thing with trading. You can know all the mechanics of trading. You can know how to buy and sell. You can know how to read level 2, how to read your charts. You can know the rules of your strategy, know exactly what you need to do each day to be consistently profitable. But will you follow those rules, especially in the moments when it matters so much? For instance, when you just experience a loss. Because that's what happened to me on Monday. I came in on Monday morning and I think I felt a little bit of pressure to have a really good day. We have a lot of members that are doing a 2-week trial. By the way, there'll be a link in the description and pinned to the comments if you want to do that. But because I knew there was a lot of people that were joining for this 2-week trial, I just really wanted to have a good start to the week, kind of like show people like, yeah, like I know what I'm doing here. And so that like little added pressure, I think made me very reluctant to have a no trade day on Monday, when in fact, there really wasn't a lot that looked good. I ended up trading a continuation stock and going from up 1,500 to down 2,000. And it's like that stock wasn't obvious. Yes, I had made a big move on Friday. I understand why I was looking at it, but I really try to start each day by focusing on a fresh breaking news trade. And we didn't have any good breaking news headlines on Monday. So I ended up, going red, and then I didn't realize that I had become emotionally triggered. I sort of felt like I was good. But when I went from up 1,500 to down 2,000, from green to red, that sort of triggered me. And immediately I jumped into the next trade with kind of big size. And I lost another $800. Now I'm down 2,800. And then I just kind of kept losing a little bit more, a little bit more. Now, for me, kind of one of the worst things that can happen on really big red days is that each loss gets bigger than the next. So the first loss is like 2,000, the next one's 4,000, the next one's 8,000, the next one's 16,000, etc., until I'm down a ton. Now, fortunately, that didn't happen on Monday. I did walk away at a certain point when I was at my max pain, which was like close to $10,000, but it was not a good day. And here's the problem. We know as traders, we're going to have red days. It's unavoidable. That's why I have this phrase that I like to say of successful red days. A successful red day is a red day where you follow your rules. Okay, you end up on the wrong side, you're in the red, but you walk away before it gets too bad. And I didn't do that on Monday. I had a session on Friday with Ted. He runs the trading psychology program at Warrior Trading, and I've been meeting with him once a week to help with my emotions in trading for more than a decade. And you might think, wow, that I've spent a lot of money meeting with him, once a week or whatever, for all this time, and I'm not cured. But the thing with the emotions in trading is that I don't know that there is such a thing as being cured from having emotions. I mean, you're going to have them. It ultimately comes back to being able to have the presence of mind to walk away a little bit sooner. Now, by the way, I really like this book that I have over here called Quit by Annie Duke. This is the subtitle is The Power of Knowing When to Walk Away. So I always like to recommend that for people that are struggling with knowing when to walk away. But in any case, we talked about that red day that I had on Monday, and he said something I thought was really interesting, which was that typically when people have a day of emotional hijack where they spiral, they think they were good. Like they don't realize, sort of at the point where they have that tipping point that they were even there. It's so subtle. It just sort of sneaks up on you. And next thing you know, you're increasing your size, you're trading more and more and more and more. And I think just the way those emotions can creep up on you requires you to always be on guard. So I had a setback on Monday, and it was nearly $10,000 setback. And I spent the rest of the week sort of chipping away with small base hits. Now, I ended up making back most of the loss by the end of the week, uh, which is good. I was up, let's see, on Friday, 4,200, Thursday was 1,600, and then Wednesday was like 4,500 or so. So, those were some green days, and Tuesday was another red day, but it was a small red day and a successful red day. So, more or less, I ended the week flat. Now, here's where we're getting into a little bit of a problem. We start looking at the calendar here for the month of May, and I just lost a whole week, basically. I lost this whole week, which, should have been a $10,000, $15,000 green week. So now, because I had this big red day, and I can open the calendar so you could see it more clearly, because I had this big red day on Monday, and then a small red day Tuesday, it just ends up that, it's so anyways, I made 4,200 on Friday. I didn't import those trades yet. But yeah, so it's kind of a wash. And that definitely feels like a bummer. It should have been, a $10,000, $15,000 a week, maybe more, but it's a wash. Okay, well, 52 weeks out of the year, there are going to be some weeks that are a wash. However, if I had walked away on this day right here when I was down only 2,000, the moment I flipped from green to red, which was right here, well, it would have been a much better week. And this is where I need the presence of mind to, I just should have walked away. I let a couple of things sort of influence me, and I got a little stressed out. We've got a lot of members that are, those of you guys on YouTube who are doing a 2-week trial right now, and I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Monday morning, the market's so slow, and now I'm in the red. And I was like, I want to have a good green Monday to kind of start the week off with, a nice bang. And that added pressure, it's just very silly. But anyways, so next thing you know, I'm further in the red, and then a couple more losses. And anyways, so finally threw in the towel. But so if we look back on the week, did we have any really big momentum stocks? And the answer is we did have some moves, but a lot of them didn't hold up super well. So, Friday we had SGBX, which, if you recall, sort of this big pop up here, and then reversal back down, kind of tried to come back up later in the day. We had NVAX, which had a news catalyst, and, in total held at 100% gap, but pulled back quite a bit off its peak of 14. I got a nice trade on this early in this ramp up yesterday or Friday morning. But anyways, so this one was a little bit of a higher float. And one thing I'll say about this, so it's 138 million share float and 166 million shares of volume. But let's think about that for a second. So you have 138 million shares that overnight were up at one point 200%. So they're up 600. If you own the whole 138 million shares, they were up like over $600 million overnight. That's incredible. So what would you do if you're up 600 million overnight? I don't know about you, but if I was up that much overnight, I would be taking some profit off the table, right? 200% overnight, start taking some profit. So imagine 138 million shares saying, I'm going to sell. Well, we had 138 million shares of volume, but if all of them sold, well, there wouldn't be buyers, to match. It would have come way, 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 way back down. It would have come almost all the way back down. So because we had 166 million shares of volume, there was enough volume to support a lot of selling, but not enough to allow it to go up 300, 400, 500%. At least that's kind of my opinion. Now, of course, you do have the variable of how many people were short and needed to cover, how many new people established short positions. But the fact is, we usually see these big moves when you have the entire float rotate, because the effect of float rotation is that anyone who's already holding, who's up, 100, 200%, they could easily sell. So once everyone's been able to sell and it's still going higher, that's when things get exciting. Now, you also have the variable that a company could do a secondary offering. They could sell more shares onto the market during these types of moves to raise money. So that's sort of a little bit of a factor that's in addition to float that could create more upside resistance. But in any case, NVAX, put in a nice move, but it wasn't anything super exciting. So yeah, so that was Friday with that move on NVAX, and then I wanted to import my trades from yesterday, but I wasn't able to for some reason. There's like I was getting a server error trying to log in, so that's fine. I'll try it tomorrow. But we had REBN, right? So REBN, Reborn Coffee. This one gave us a nice move on, I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, this was on Wednesday. We got Reborn Coffee. So we got a nice little move on that. But, again, I mean, look, from $1.80 up to $4, that's solid. That's enough to make some money on for sure. But, you ride the momentum and then don't overstay your welcome. Walk away early and then wait for the next trade. And that's more or less, my approach and my strategy. I focus, as many of you already know, on trading the leading percentage gainers each day. And these usually have a lot of volume, as you could see right here. The relative volume is very high. They typically have a news catalyst. And these get so much attention on the day they have this big move. They'll make 100, 200% moves. Now, a lot of times, there's a bit of, irrational buying that happens on those days, and then it does settle back down over the following days. In a really hot market, we'll have multiple days of continuation, but that's not what we're seeing in this current market. So I'd say the current state of the market right now is base hits. Lock up your base hits. Get green, get out, reevaluate. Okay, is this still holding up? And then consider the next entry only if it's still holding up. So I'm focusing on trying to buy on pullbacks, add into the breakout, take profit, and then after the first and second pullback on the 1 minute chart, I'm kind of waiting for a 5 minute pullback. If we get a 5 minute pullback in the form of a bull flag or an ABCD pattern, I'm willing to trade that. And then if it moves up, great. I'll trade the first and second 5 minute pullbacks, but I just don't want to overstay my welcome. That's the thing. Right now, the market is still a little bit cold. I mean, my own profits are somewhat a reflection of that, but they're also a reflection of, the emotions that I experienced this week. Because this could have and should have probably just been a $2,000 red day right there. And then this would have been a small green week. So if I hadn't made sort of the error here, unforced error on Monday, I'd probably be up instead of, flat on the week, I'd probably be up, $5,000-$6,000, which would still make it a slow week relative to the week before. So it's still a little bit of a slow week, but it wouldn't have been as bad. I really think that for most of you, if you were just focusing on base hits and you kept your emotions in check, you should have been able to find your way to some nice opportunities. So my thought right now is that that's going to continue into next week. It's really, and by the way, my best day was on Wednesday. And what was really cool about Wednesday was, I sat down regular time, like 7:30, watching scans. And I don't know if it was 7:30, but it was like we had a good news headline at 7:30, 8, 8:30, 9. It was like top and bottom of the hour. Each time we had another stock that came out with news. And it was a little funny because we were kind of jumping from stock to stock to stock. I would prefer just to focus on one that's obvious and continues higher. But I'm willing to trade the volatility that comes with breaking news headlines. And we got like 3 or 4 of them. And I think on each one, I made like $1,500. So next thing you know, I'm up close to 5,000, 5,500. Then I took a little loss off the top and I was up 4,500. I was like, that was a solid day. Yeah, it would have been better if we had just one stock that was going crazy. But nonetheless, we had a lot of news. And so I think what we struggled with on Monday and Tuesday was that we didn't really have good news catalysts pre-market. And so if we don't have good news catalysts pre-market, we're not going to see volume. We're not going to see big moves. We're not going to see volatility. That volatility doesn't come from just nowhere. It comes from news coming out on these stocks. So if we have some news headlines on Monday or really any day next week, I think I'll be able to do well. If we have no news, then on those days, probably the best thing is going to be to sit tight and not trade. Now, if we have news, but it's on stocks that are below $1.50 or on stocks that have floats of over 50 million shares, 100 million shares, I may also decide, or are above $10 a share, $20 a share, I may also decide that the best move is just to sit on the sidelines. One of the things that's unfortunate with digging yourself a little bit of a hole or having this kind of week where it's a loss is that, in the context of this being a marathon, not a sprint, I feel like I lost a little bit of ground. And now to sort of get to my goal of, let's say $45,000 to $50,000 of profit on the month, well, I'm going to have to either pick up the pace and take a little more risk, but this is not just a sprint, it's a marathon. So realistically, what I need to do is I need to settle in, pace myself, keep my head down, and just try to make good progress and try to do the best I can on this little leg of the race. So I'm not going to go take crazy risks, try to get myself up to my goal. I'm just going to try to settle in, focus on base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit. Now, if I'd had a big week last week and a nice cushion, then I would afford myself to take a little risk because I've got the lead, right? I'm doing really well. I can afford a couple of mistakes or losses from taking too much risk, and that would be all right, but I'm not in that position now. All right, so that's just where we're at here for, the second week going into the third week of May. I just got to keep my head down, stay focused, and focus, really try to be dialed in with what is the obvious stock to trade today. So that's my game plan for the week ahead. I'll put the link for the 2-week trial down in the description. It'll be pinned to the top of the comments. So hopefully I'll see you guys in there, and I'm going to try to stay focused on Monday, looking for news, looking for base hits, and, be prepared that there could be a no trade day next week. If there's a day where there's nothing good, I'm going to try to be disciplined and not trade. That really is the best thing to do. When you look back, it's like 1 or 2 no trade days. They don't mean anything, but if it avoids you having a day like this, then it's definitely worth it. So don't feel the need to trade every single day. Focus on trading what is A quality. Trade the best, leave the rest. If there's nothing that's A quality, then chalk it up as a day that, you're just, whatever. You get a little extra time back in your day and try again on Monday or try again the next day. All right, so that's it for me. Thanks as always for tuning in. I'll remind you that trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so manage your risk, take it slow. There's no guarantee you'll find success, whether you learn from me or you trade on your own. So be cautious, practice this simulator, and I'll see you guys back here on Monday morning.